Unit 2, Lesson 4, N4, Equation Word Problems. Word problems can be solved by creating equations. Solve each word problem, be sure to define a variable. Letter A. The sum of two numbers is 43. The larger number is 5 more than the smaller number. Find the two numbers. So let's first start off with defining a variable. So let's say let x equal a number. And let's say that's even the smaller number. We know that the larger number is 5 more than the smaller number. So 5 more than a number would be x plus 5. So let x plus 5 equal a larger number. Okay. Now it says the sum of the two numbers is 43. Sum means addition, so what I have to do here is add my two numbers together. X plus 5. So I added our x and our x plus 5 together, and I know that equals 43. Let's go ahead and combine our like terms. We have x plus x, which is 2x. Bring down the plus 5 equals 43. Subtract 5 from both sides. And we get 2x equals 38. Let's zoom in a little bit here. We need to then divide by 2 on both sides. We'll write it over on this side. So we get x equals 19. So I know x equals 19. That's our number, our smaller number. And my larger number I know is 5 more than that. So really what I'm doing is I'm taking the 19 and plugging it in for x. So 19 plus 5. I'll jot that down off to the side. Oops. So we have 19 plus 5, which equals 24. So our two numbers are 19 and 24. Let's go ahead and look at C. One number is 5 more than another number. 3 times the larger number minus twice the smaller number is 21. Okay, so let's start with our let statements. Let's enlarge this a little bit. Okay, let's say let x equal a number, and you can use any variable you want. I like to use x more often than not, just out of habit. It says one number is 5 more than another number. So 5 more than another number would mean that x plus 5 is the other number. In this case, it is larger. You're adding to it. So let's say let x plus 5 equal another number. Okay. 3 times the larger, which remember this one's the larger. We'll just make that notation here. So this one's larger. Okay. 3 times the larger. So 3 times the larger, which is x plus 5. Minus twice the smaller, remember the smaller is x, so 2x, is 21. equals 21. Now let's go ahead and solve that. Let's first distribute the 3. So we have 3x plus 15, bring down everything else, minus 2x equals 21. Let's go ahead and combine like terms. We have positive 3x and negative 2x, which is just 1x. So x plus 15 equals 21. Subtract 15, and we get x equals 6. So x is our smaller number, so 6 is the smaller number. To get the larger, what we're going to do is take our 6 and add it to the 5 to get 11. So our two numbers are 6 and 11. Let's go ahead and move right along to letter D. A set of children's blocks contains 3 shapes: longs, flats, and cubes. There are 3 times as many longs as cubes and 30 fewer flats than longs. If there are 600 blocks in all, how many longs are there? So this one can be a little bit confusing just with the wording. We have here, there are 3 times as many longs as cubes, okay? And we also have that there are 30 fewer flats than longs. So I'm going to actually start with cubes. I know that there are 3 times as many longs as cubes, which means I have more longs than cubes. So I'm going to let my smallest number be x. So let x equal cubes. I know cubes is one of the smaller, or is the smallest number. So let's go ahead and write our let statements. Let x equal cubes. I know the longs are 3 times that. So let 3 times x equal the longs. And there are 30 fewer flats than longs. So we take our longs, which is 3x, and subtract 30 from it to get our flats. There are 600 blocks in all. That's a total. So what we're going to do is take all of these and add them together. We have x plus 3x plus 3x minus 30, and all together that equals 600. Let's go ahead and solve that. Let's first combine our like terms. We have x, 3x, and 3x, which makes a total of 7x. Bring down the minus 30 equals 600. Add 30 to both sides. We get 7x equals 630. Divide by 7, and we get x equals 90. We know that there are 90 of x. But let's take a look again and see what x equals. X are the cubes. This problem is asking us specifically how many longs there are. Well, longs, I know, is 3x. Oops, let's go to a pen. So I know that 3x represents the longs, so let's go ahead and plug in 3 times 90, which means there are 270 longs. I know that x is 90, that's why I plugged in the 90 there. Okay, do letters B and E on the front of this page on your own. Geometry word problems involve geometric shapes. It can be helpful to draw a diagram before creating an equation. Solve each word problem. Be sure to define a variable. Letter A. The length of the second side of a triangle is 2 inches less than the length of the first side. The length of the third side is 12 inches more than the length of the second side. The perimeter of the triangle is 74 inches. Find the length of each side of the triangle. So we have 3 different sides. Let's go ahead and draw a triangle here. Okay, and we have the first side, second side, and third side. Doesn't really matter which is which. Let's start with the first side being on the left, for example. So let's say our first side is just plain old x. So let x equal first side. Okay. We then have the length of the second side is 2 less than the first side. So the second side is 2 less than the length of the first side. And I know the first side was x. So let x minus 2 equal the second side. And we know the length of the third side is 12 inches more than the second side. Well, the second side, remember, is x minus 2. So if we have, 12 inches more than that, it's really our x minus 2. That didn't work out. Let's try that again. Let me zoom in a bit. So we have our x minus 2, which is our second side, and we have 12 inches on top of that. Okay, so it's really x minus 2 plus 12 is our third side. So let x minus 2 plus 12 equal third side. You could clean that up a bit to begin with and combine your like terms, but it is not really necessary. It might save you a couple steps a little bit later. Okay, we have a diagram, we have our let statements. So let's actually write an equation and solve. Let's move this over, give ourselves some room. It says the perimeter of the triangle is 74 inches. Perimeter is when you add up all the sides. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's make sure we're in viewing range here. Okay. So we have our first side is x plus our second side, which is x minus 2, plus our third side, which is x minus 2 plus 12, and all together that equals, what was it here? It equals 74. So let's go ahead and solve this problem. I'm going to start by combining like terms. We have x, x, and another x, which equals 3x. And we have negative 2, and positive 12, which altogether equals a positive 8. And this equals 74. Let's subtract 8 from both sides. We get 3x equals 66. Divide by 3, and we get x equals 22. It wants to know the length of each side of our triangle. Well, I know the first side is 22 inches. Let's go ahead and write that over here. So I know the first side is 22 inches. The second side is 22 inches minus 2. So I know that's 20 inches. And the third side is 12 more than the second side. So I know 12 more than 20 is 32 inches. Let's look at letter C. The side of a square is represented by the expression x plus 5. If the perimeter of the square is 36 centimeters, what is the length of one of its sides? Okay, so we have a square, and I know what's unique about squares is that all four sides are the same. So if this is x plus 5, all other sides are x plus 5. Now, it gave us the expression x plus 5, so we do not have to write a let statement. The perimeter is 36 inches. And again, perimeter, you add up all the sides. However, since all the sides are the same, I can say 4 sides times the length of one of them equals 36. Let's go ahead and distribute the 4. 4x plus 20 equals 36. Subtract 20 from both sides, and we get 4x equals 16. Let's bring this over here for more room. So 4x equals 16. We're going to divide both sides by 4, and we get x equals 4. Now it gives me what x equals, but that's not what we're looking for. We want to know the length of one of its sides. And remember, its sides are represented by x plus 5. So we're going to go ahead and take our 4 that we got as our value for x, and we're going to add it to 5. And we get 9 centimeters is the length of one side. Let's take a look at D. The width of a rectangle is 3 times the length. The area is 108 centimeters squared. Find the dimensions of the rectangle. So let's go ahead and draw a rectangle. I know that the width is 3 times the length. So let's say our length, we'll call it x. So let x equal length. And 3 times the length would be 3x. And that represents our width. This time we're not finding perimeter. This time we are finding area. And the area is 108 centimeters. Remember, our formula for area for a rectangle is base times height. So area equals our base or length is x, and our height or width is 3x. We're going to bring in our laws of exponents here. Remember, these have an exponent of 1, those x's there. So you keep the base and add the exponents. So x times 3x, the 3 remains the same because there's an invisible 1 here. So 1 times 3 is 3. And I have x to the second power. Again, we keep the base, add the exponents. Okay? And I did forget to put in our area. We know our area. Our area is 108 centimeters. So 108 equals 3x squared. We need to get x by itself, but the first thing we need to do is get rid of the coefficient of 3. So we're going to go ahead and divide by 3. When we divide 108 by 3, we end up with 36. So 36 equals x squared. To get rid of a squared variable, we have to do the inverse operation. And that means taking the square root. Because we're dealing with a distance or a length of an object, it has to be a positive answer. So we're looking for the positive root of 36. So the square root of 36 is 6. So we know that 6 equals x. Now this wants us to find the dimensions, which means both the length and the width. Well, I know the length is represented by x, so I know the length is 6, looks like centimeters. So length equals 6 centimeters. And the width is 3 times that. So the width is 3 times 6, which is 18 centimeters. Try the rest of these problems on your own.